Welcome to Long March to Freedom. So before you can go through, I just want to give you overview of this exhibition. My name is Walter, by the way. I'm a professional site guide here. You are more than welcome. The name of this procession is Long March to Freedom. So here at home, we decided to honor people who gave leadership and the wisdom of South Africa, spending 350 years of journey people struggling for the liberation. Guess what? It's not only South Africans, but international as well who contributed on our liberty. People like Samora Machel from Mozambique, Fidel Castro from Cuba, Julius Nyerere from Tanganyika, just to mention a little bit few. So we didn't put them randomly, but according to their eras where they're active. Starting from way back, it's the very early people in South Africa, which is Khoi and the San, chief and kings, warriors, they're at that side. So that era is colonization. After colonization, it's a union government. In the middle, it's apartheid and resistance. That became in power in 1948 here in South Africa. Remember, apartheid became a law starting from 1948. Then we end up by the last day of apartheid, which is towards new democracy. Is where you're gonna see Walter Sisulu together with his wife, Nelson Mandela together with his wife, and the longest serving president of ANC, which is Oliver Reginald Tambo, together with his wife. And the sculptures is made of bronze by South African artists. 40 of them, including 14 trainees from TUT. TUT stands for Tshwane University of Technology in Pretoria, right? So you cannot find this exhibition anywhere in the world, but here at Long March to Freedom, Century City, Cape Town. So as we start by the very early people here in South Africa, which is Khoi and the San. Many people, they get confused when it comes to Khoi and the San. Some of the people used to say Khoisan. There is no such thing called Khoisan. No, but Khoi and the San. In 1600s era, 1652, Jan van Riebeeck arrived here only to find that there is indigenous people living their own life here. It was normal to them. But what he has done, he decided to take everything that belongs to, these people, you see. And then, that man over there, his name is, Ushomanto, but he was given, a European name by the governor, well known as Jan van Riebeeck. This man, he was the first black political prisoner to banish to Robben Island. Over cows, livestock, he was fighting for his own rights in his own country, right? So this man in Robben Island, he ended up, escaping, twice, right? And swimming. And it was very rare at that time. So this man, since he was found for the second time, Jan van Riebeeck decided to employ him as an interpreter. He was one of a rebel leader. He was postmaster as well. A trade man, So this man unfortunately ended up dying 1663, poor, He died the same year together with this man. This man, his name is Doman. Doman, it means a voice in a Khoi language. So this man, he was one of the leader of Khorahenagona. So for Khorahenagona, it was a tribe or a clan or territory of Khoi and the San who used to stay in CBD today, right? So this man, he ended up working with Jan van Riebeeck, at the company. He was introduced in the company well known as VOC, that was changed to Dutch East Indian Company. The man, he ended up sent to Batavia, present-day Jakarta, capital city of Indonesia, to be well trained how to speak the language of oppressor, which it was Dutch by that time, He don't know how to speak Dutch compared to Ushomanto, which is Harry the Strandloper. So this man ended up leading the first war of resistance here in South Africa. I spoke about, Khoi and the San, right? This is strictly Khoi, man of man, a pastoralist. Remember, San people, they were, very known, well known as hunter-gatherers, which is the Bushmen. But this is, Khoi, hunters. So the Bushmen and the hunters, it was insult name given by Europeans. So those people, especially Khoi people, they used to stay in a huge, area, grow crops. It was, their own, work, right? So his name is Craftsmanship. This man, he ended up, leading a third war of resistance, fighting for his own land. Unfortunately, he ended up dying 1803. After the death of him, his brother David Stearman is the one who succeeded. His own brother. This man, David Stearman or Klaus Stearman, is not their real names, but a given names. They do have their African names, right? So this man, he ended up in Robben Island also after killing a lot of Europeans in his own land, which is Gamatosville, Ciskei. Today is Eastern Cape, right? So in Robben Island, he ended up escaping 3 times. The last escape, just because David Stearman, he was a problem. Unfortunately, he was taken to Australia. Jail is where he died. So today, as I speak, there is a Port Elizabeth Airport that was renamed after him, David Stearman Airport today. Here in South Africa, some of the people used to be named according to their countries where they came from. Speaking of which, Louis van Mauritius, he came here at the age of young. You see this, cloth, the weapons. He didn't buy it, but found it from, dead people. It was a war between French and the British fighting here in our own lands or African lands. You see, so he ended up. This man ended up being one of the leader of slave, well known as Ye Rebellion, in Salt River. Salt River. There is a place well known as Salt River here in Cape Town. So it's where many slaves used to hide themselves there. We also have missionaries. This man, he was one of missionary, well known as Johannes van de Kerk. He came here from Netherlands, right? And then to make change or peace. Some of the missionaries, they were good. Some they wasn't good as such. But Johannes van de Kerk, he is the one who allied Khoi and the San people and Bantu speaking people, well known as Xhosa, right? Zulu. He was preaching the words of God. And then Johannes van de Kerk again, he ended up taking a wife from South Africa. They end up having children of yours. Her name, it was Sarah. And then she became one of the author here in South Africa. I spoke about missionaries, but here I'm next to Chief Makana, who was against missionaries, right? So the man, he was one of the fights. He was fighting for his own people also. Guess what? You see here, this is teeth of an animal to show that he was a sangoma, a liver. But look, you've got a cross, right? Now Christianity, it was introduced to the chief, since it was all about chiefdoms here in South Africa or Africa as a whole. So missionaries, they were in the mission to confuse chiefdoms, right? And then chiefdoms, they were told to go preach the words for their own people. Otherwise, if they don't do that, if their people, they don't become a believer, they're going to be assassinated, right? So this is a wallet where there is a bones, which this thing Sangoma used to use it. If you can go to Sangoma today, obviously they will give you this thing to tell you to blow in like this. Then they throw it down and then they start to narrate or translate those items that are down. So Chief Makana, to make story short, he ended up in Robben Island also. In Robben Island, he escaped. When he escaped, he wasn't alone, but together with David Stearman. But unfortunately, this man ended up drowned. There is a beach well known as Blobeg is where he drowned. That was Chief Makana. So we also have, Chief Hinter here, a prominent Hinter, who was brutally killed by Harry Smith. The man, he was shot, and then the time he was down, and then Europeans start to cut his genetical organs. They end up cutting the head of Hinter, took the head as a trophy to show Queen Victoria in Britain. He was killed for, his own rights, his land. He was fighting for his own land also. So he died for, his own people. Dying for something that belongs to him also. After the death of Hinter, it didn't sit well to King Makoma, which he was a cousin of Hinter, right? He decided to group his own people and then went to the tribe that belongs to Hinter. Only to find that there is, people, celebrating their life, the way, Hinter, he was killed. And then King Makoma started to kill, Europeans, which it was the British, right? And then King Makoma, he was taken to Robben Island. In Robben Island, he was isolated also, just like Robert Subugu that we know today, right? So he ended up dying in Robben Island, after many years. Then he died there. So that is a prominent Sandile who was forced to fight many wars. Number 7 and 8 war, this man. And then he was related to King Makoma, right? His brother of King Makoma, actually. So this man, he refused to submit, his people was defeated by the British. He don't want to submit that. He said, no, my people, we are not defeated and we cannot submit to them, which is British people, So this man, he played a fundamental role in his own, land or country as well, which is South Africa. There is no history of South Africa without, King Shaka. Each and everyone knows Shaka, But bear in mind, Shaka, he is the one who allowed all the tribes of Zulu nation to become one during, tough time. It was all about chiefdoms in Port Natal or South Africa as a whole. But Shaka, you see, is the one who said, you know what, all of you now, you are under me. That is why he became one of the prominent king of Zulu nation. His dream, he wants to be a king of Africa as a whole. But unfortunately, his brother, he cut his dream by assassinating Shaka. The man who killed Shaka, it was biological brother, which is Dingane, who was born 1795. And by that time, when Dingane born, is where British took over control here from the Dutch, right? Now, after the assassination of Shaka, Dingane continued using the police of Shaka, you see. And then during that time, some of the chiefs, they started to migrate from neighbor countries. People like Mzilikazi Kamashobani, he migrated from Port Natal until he rested in Bulawayo, present-day Zimbabwe. So Shangani, he migrated from KZN until he rested in Mozambique today, you see. So that is Chief Khamanyana Pilane. If you can look at this here, it's colonization era here. And back on the days, to be honest with you, you want to ask, people, which tribe do you came from? You will see them by the costume. You see, this man, he was, a king of Tswana. He was a king of Ndebele. He was a king of Zulu. But things change. Now, we are colonized. You see, people now, they are wearing suit now, instead of wearing a traditional cloth. So this, section here is colonization era. Since I told you earlier, earlier, it was divided by the eras, right? So here is colonization era. So here we are at colonization era. Boer Republic and British Republic came to the Union, and then blacks, Indian, colored, they were excluded. It was, national convention that was held in Bloemfontein, right? So people who were excluded, some of them, they decided to go to UK, right? In UK, in 1910, four lawyers, they are the one who formed South African Native National Congress, which is, well known as, ANC today, right? In 1912, organization, it was cooked, and then they came with something cooked back to Bloemfontein, right? It was 8th of January in 1912 when this man elected or selected as the first president of South African Native National Congress, well known as ANC today. It was changed in 1923 to ANC. His name is John Langalibalele Dube. And then, how can I forget, Charlotte Maxeke, who was the first president of, ANC Women's League. It was called Bantu Women's by that time. She is the one who approached the brothers, which, brothers, I'm talking about Pixley Sakasem, John Dube, Walter Rubusana, Alfred Mangena, just to mention a few. Said the brothers, you need the women's. In this struggle, we are no longer the women's used to, to sit in the house, make babies for you, and then we become, a slave. No, now we want to work with you. So she was given a chance to be, the president. And guess what? She was the only woman amongst, the first woman to get degree in science in South Africa. So she came with a degree from United States. She was one of a missionary, remember? Queen Labutsibeni, she was one of international supports of this country. She even supports the ruling party today, which is ANC, starting from 1914. She is the one who contributes when the delegation go to United States. You know, she even sell some of the cattle just to donate to South Africa, or organization called South African Native National Congress. By that time, she also became one of the founder of the newspaper called Abantu Betu newspaper. She was one of the a president or a leader of the country in Swaziland. She was part of the parliament, for short, to make story short. Now we have Mama Aida Mtwana here, one of the president of Federation South African Women's, and then she took over after Charlotte Maxeke. She became the second president of ANC Women's League here in South Africa. She was one of the influencer of Women's March of 1956. Today we have Mbokotos. Mbokoto, it means a rock. It's the women's who marched to Union Building in 1956. So this one, she was one of the influencer of those women. Now we are at apartheid and resistance. That became in power in 1948 here. Remember, in 1943, Nelson Mandela joined ANC. 1944 is where ANC Youth League born. Anton Lembede, he became the first president of ANC Youth League, where Nelson Mandela grown up, and all the leaders that we know today. So to make story short, Anton Lembede is the one who paved the way of Nelson Mandela and the icons that we know today. So since we are continuing at apartheid and resistance that became in power in 1948 here in South Africa, we also have Chief Albert Lituli here next to me, the first Nobel Peace Prize winner, Africa as a whole. So during apartheid regime, there is a system here in South Africa of a dompas. Dompas is like ID book. So black people, Indian, color, they're supposed to carry it when they leave their own home. But to the white South African, no, they're supposed to walk free. Until Chief Albert Lituli, he said it must come to an end. He is the one who banned dompas in front of a white police station. Remember, National Party, it was in power by that time. Then you follow it by, some of the whites, some of the Indian, colored, and Asian. During apartheid regime again, these people, two people here, they were doctors, but they got, a doctor's perk. Three of them, it was, Moniker as Indian, Yusuf Dadu as an Indian, and then a black man, A.B. Kuma. You see, but remember, during apartheid regime, blacks, Indian, and colored, they were treated the same, right? They were non-white, not a pure white. So this doctor, they wasn't allowed to practice as a doctor. A.B. Kuma became number 6 president of ANC. But that time, National Party, it was a ruling party. So here in South Africa, we have 9 provinces and 11 official languages. So Anisi Linga, she was representing, a Western Cape province. During apartheid regime, she became one of the president of Cape Town Women's. So in 1956, she was one of influencer of South African women's who marched to Union Building. She was a treason trial. In 1956, it was another turning point here in South Africa. South African women's, well-known in Bokoto, stood up, fight for a one thing, regardless of a color of skin. Lillian Ngoyi over here, she was representing a black South Africans. Helen Joseph, she was representing white South Africans. And then Rahena Musa here, she was representing Indians. The one who was representing mixed race, well known as colored, she's still alive. Her name is Sophie Williams de Bray. Remember, here in this exhibition, we honor people who passed on. So these 4 women I have mentioned, they are marched to Union Building for past law books, you see. And then they approached Stratton as a prime minister. This is the partition, they're holding the partition. You see, Watitaba Faz Stratton, Watitum Bokoto, Uzokufa. It means in English, now you have touched a women's Stratton as a prime minister, you have, strike a rock, you will be crushed. So these, South African women's, they play a fundamental role here in South Africa. Now, each and every year, we celebrate a Women's March. 9 August is a holiday here in South Africa. In this exhibition, we don't only honor the politicians, but some leaders in different angles. So she was a leader through music. She used to sing a struggle song during apartheid regime, you see. And now it came to the point like National Party, they don't want to hear any song, because people or Abantu speaking people, they used to communicate now using the song, you see. So her song, it was get banned. Her name is Mama Africa, well known as Miriam Makeba. So she was told to leave the country. So she was out of this country for 31 years. When Nelson Mandela walked free is where he called her back home. Again, we also have a civil rights and social justice activist, Dr. Martin Luther King from United States. So he was one of a Nobel Peace Prize winner for peace as well. There is no Dr. Martin Luther King without Albert Luthuli. There is no Albert Luthuli without Mahatma Gandhi. So those people, they used to communicate to each other, you see. So here in this exhibition, we have 4 Nobel Peace Prize winners, which is, Chief Albert Luthuli, Dr. Martin Luther King from United States, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and Nelson Mandela. So he was, non-violence, disobedience leader. I have a dream. That was his, well-known speech. But I'm still living with his own, speech, you know. He used to say, if you can't, fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. By all means, you keep on moving forward. Africa as a whole, not South Africa, but Africa. Many people think white people, they were against, all white people, they were against blacks, Indian and colored, which is a untrue story. There is, white people who die for this country. South Africa as a country. Brown Fisher, who sacrificed a lot for this country. After Nelson Mandela arrested in 1962, doesn't give, Brown Fisher a rest. He was going up and down. He became one of the lawyer of Nelson Mandela. And all the Rivonia trialists, that was arrested in 1963 at Lily's farm, Rivonia, where group of Nelson Mandela, they were underground drafting the document of sabotage here in South Africa. And remember, this man, he was one of the member of South African Communist Party. Jos Lovo is the one of the white person who died for this country. You know, he was a friend of Chris Hani, and he was part of South African Communist Party. He even one day advised Nelson Mandela to arm when he go out of the house. Come and see what he has here. He got a gun inside because you know very well he wants to protect himself. Remember his wife Ruth First, she was brutally killed in Mozambique. But that time during apartheid regime, they used to use bombs to kill people. So bomb was sent to her as a gift in Mozambique. When she opened the parcel, and then bomb exploded. It was the end of her life, and she was one of the journalists. So since we are in Cape Town, Western Cape, it's well known as Mother City. So I don't know, maybe they were preferring to Helen Suzman as one of the founder or co-founder of Progressive Party, which is now DA. And then Helen Suzman, she was the only one during apartheid regime, only women amongst 165 members of parliament representing the organization Progressive Party, which is DA today. And then she used to visit black prisoners in Robben Island, and she wasn't tall, but a short one. When Nelson Mandela look at her or see her in Robben Island, he was so surprised to see a white person supporting them, which it was very rare by that time. So we also have Robert Sobukwe here, Mangaliso Sobukwe, who was in prison in Robben Island, isolated. Remember I spoke about King Matoma during colonization era. Now we are at apartheid, which this man, he was part of ANC, but he ended up breaking up with ANC. He formed his organization well known as PAC. So he was fighting against racial equality, like we must be equal here in South Africa. Sharpeville massacre happened here in South Africa. 69 people died, 183 injured. He was a leader. We also have a recently staged here, Johnny Clegg. He was well known as a Zulu, a white Zulu. He is the one who connects, black people and white people. So he don't have that thing of hatred between black and white. But see a human being as a human being, not an animal. So he used to sing a song, Simbonanga Nelson Mandela, Asimbonanga, Asimbonanga Mandela Tina. You know, there is a lot of songs that he used to sing. So this is our new statue here inside of this exhibition, together with his guitar. After Johnny Clegg connecting blacks and white people, South African, and then Archbishop Desmond Tutu, he came to realize we are the one, we are a human being. That is why TRC born, Truth and Reconciliation born. He was supported by Nelson Mandela and the others, and then he was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize winner for peace. He was one of a bishop. We have his church in Cape Town CBD today. We also have African leaders who supported South Africa to the heat. People like Fidel Castro, person like Fidel Castro from Cuba. He is the one who dedicated himself to train the cadres of MK how to use gun in Angola. And then we also have Julius Nyerere, who supported South Africa to the heat as well. He is the one who ended colonialism, Africa as a whole, and he was part of UN. Steve Biko again, he was one of the influencer of his own people, which it was black. He was a leader of black consciousness. It was a movement for students. He was young, as you can see him, and then used to encourage people to be proud of themselves. Black is beautiful. He even wrote a book, I Write What I Like. So this man, he also worked for community. He didn't work for himself, but worked for community as a whole. Since I spoke about Fidel Castro, this man, he was trained also in Angola how to use the gun that I'm gonna take and shoot you, right? So this man, he was accused by killing innocent white people. It was, about killing, but that time in Gauteng province, you see. So this man, he was accused by killing innocent white people, where he was arrested. Hangpal, it ended with him, right? When they found you guilty during apartheid regime, they don't negotiate with you. They used to give you a rope, and then people was killed by rope also. So the time he was sentenced, Solomon Kalushi Mahlangu, his mother should cry like nobody's business. And then he stopped his mother. He said, "Mama, why are you crying in front of this dog?" He points, judges. And then this man, he continued to say, "Mama, the only favor that you're gonna do to me, Mama, tell my people outside there not to stop to fight. My blood will nourish and bear the fruits of freedom. A luta continua." We also have, a Pan-Africanist, Samora Machel from Mozambique. This man, he was a soldier before, right? So he became one of politicians, and then he gets support from, South Africa. Or he supported South Africa again. He was, like this with Nelson Mandela. He was friends of Nelson Mandela, this man. He was revolutionary anyway. Remember, Nelson Mandela ended up taking his wife, Gracia Machel. We also honor Chief of Staff of Mkhondowe Sizwe, well known as Tembisile Chris Hani, who was, well known or loved by people, and then he gets supported. I would say maybe he was Pan-Africanist as well. So this man, he played a fundamental role here in South Africa. He was fighting against racial equality, like we must be equal here in South Africa. There is no Nelson Mandela without, Walter Sisulu. They were like this, a belt and a trouser. So Walter Sisulu, he was well known as quiet engine of ANC. He used to encourage Nelson Mandela, like, you must be stupid if you want to achieve something. Today, we have, the father and the mother of the nation, which is Rolihlahla Nelson Mandela, who doesn't know Winnie Madikizela Mandela, who supported, the husband. We also have, the longest serving president of ANC, which is Oliver Reginald Tambo. The man, he was, out of this country starting from 1960, sent by Chief Albert Litul to go, set the mission out of the country, which is UK. So the man, he make, a good, connection with different countries. He was planting, the seeds that we are enjoying today. He became the president for 24 years. After 24 years is where he take the stick and give Nelson Mandela in 1994. Then he ran with it. And then he was supported by his wife, Adelaide Tambo. She wasn't just a wife, but a supportive wife. Many people here in South Africa used to go to UK. Once she know there is South African, she used to take them to the house. She used to say, "I have a lot of children," and then she support, those, people. To be honest with me, this exhibition is not my idea, but the idea of this, two couple, which is, Dali Tambo. He is CEO of this exhibition. One day, Dali Tambo visited his father's grave, and then he bowed down. He said, "Dad, how can I honor you?" And then the answer didn't come immediately, but after a while, the answer came through dream to Dali, which is the son of this man, Oliver Tambo. He said, "Dali, my son, don't honor me, but all the people who are not well known, who pave the way for us." That is why Dali Tambo and Sarah Haynes sit down and then decided to make this exhibition. So today we have 100 statues that will grow to 500 statues over time, honoring people.
So the Long March to Freedom, an amazing project. It's an all South African project. It was started 13 years ago and it's the brainchild of Dali Tambo, who's the son of Oliver and Adelaide Tambo. And he tells the story of after his father passed in 1993, so before the first democratic elections. He tells the story of going to visit his father's grave and saying, everybody knows about Nelson Mandela, but nobody knows about you, Oliver Tambo. What can I do for you? Can I build a monument to you? And he says that evening the answer came back, don't do it for me, do it for all of them. And that's how Long March to Freedom came about. So it means that South Africa's history is more about is about so many other things and so many other individuals. It's not just about honoring one man, not only honoring Nelson Mandela, and he didn't single-handedly bring about democracy in South Africa. So we've been working on this project for 13 years, and we started in 2012 we started, and we exhibited the first 17 bronzes at the ANC Centenary Conference in Bloemfontein. And that was the first 17, which we thought was an amazing feat, and now we're at 100. So we've got 100 life-size bronzes, all South African projects, all South African artists, South African foundries. We haven't sent any of them overseas to China. We've done a lot of training on the project. There are student works that are included here, artists that have worked with professional artists, up-and-coming artists, are now operating as sculptors in their own right. They have their own careers, they have their own following. So it's been an amazing project. It's one that has included and employed and upskilled literally thousands of people. And it is the only exhibition of its kind anywhere in the world that tells the history of a country through these kind of representational artworks. The quality of the artwork is also outstanding. These artworks would stand up and be praised anywhere in the world. In fact, our biggest supporters and our most vocal supporters of this exhibition are quite often international visitors who really see the value and really love it.